Welcome to 1989. The Berlin Wall is coming down tonight. A scientist named Nora Solheim awakes on her living room couch to an abrupt call by her husband Walter. They work at the same research lab, known as Atlas, together. Walter informs her that it's all going down tonight. The central processing unit of the lab is going out of control and he cannot stop it. Nobody can. The wall is open and their work is over with. German security is taking everything from them as they speak. Nora turns on the news in a panic and tries to calm Walter down, but to no avail. He says that he has to stop Atlas, referring to the central processor that's been going out of control. Nora says she's coming to him, but Walter tells her that he needs to go now and doesn't want to get her involved. He then abruptly hangs up on her. Nora is worried, but the office is close by, thankfully. She decides to rush out of their apartment and over to the Atlas building as quickly as possible. As she's leaving, she gathers the notes around her apartment, detailing the work they've been doing recently, and the experiments about trying to transplant living tissue into other living organisms. It's been failing, but their work is still going. This can't be the end. As she exits the apartment, Nora sees the Stasi, the German police, flying toward the Atlas building. A large power outage occurs for a moment, which she calls a resonance. Something's happening inside the office. Nora makes it in, but it's been seemingly abandoned. She makes a break for Walter's office, but to no avail. The dusty, fluorescent room is buzzing with emptiness. Outside, the windows show a gargantuan machine inside the center of the building, raging wildly. Shelves of files have been overturned, and most equipment looks like it's been swept away. The life of this couple has been completely swept out from under them in one night. Nora makes her way through security locks and around breaches to reach the central processor. Stray bolts of electricity spark out from the shaking machine as large pieces of equipment fall into the abyss. She finally makes it into the actual machine itself. Nora looks around at the control monitor in front of her and realizes that Walter achieved it. They tried to experiment on a rat with this machine a bit ago, but the rat ended up contorted, with its skin rearranged. Whatever Walter did, he was able to do what they couldn't before. Nora claims that she's coming after him now. She puts in the correct coding for the machine to start, and the ambient green light starts flickering on. The air around her starts shifting, and gravity itself becomes light. Nora ascends into the blinding energy above her. Her arms flail in the anti-gravity. Everything goes black. She wakes up in a monochrome space, something resembling a library. She's confused, but she walks into the only room she can get entry into. It's an amphitheater. She sees Walter on the stage, slowly walking and ascending into the machine, and another model of herself doing the same right behind him. Nora leaves this strange area after the curtain closes and into a similar blinding light as before. This time, she wakes up in a foreign land. This feels like reality compared to the last space. She finds a note from somebody who landed here that the machine beside her isn't working any longer. Nora calls out for Walter, hoping he came here, but no responses echo back. The area around looks overgrown with huge bushes and structures of leaves, while the building nearby looks rustic and worn down. She makes her way through that mossy factory and finds sentient machines with weapons strapped to them. They're just standing in place. Nora walks towards them, and they light up with red beams and a hint of hostility. A man from above takes them out with his pistol before they're able to take action. She asks for answers from the man, but he just tells her to leave the establishment as soon as possible, and then he soon walks away. Nora does as she's told and finds a gun and an axe. She takes them and battles her way through the dark building. Who made these robots, and why are they here? What happened to this place? It's not safe. The next thing she stumbles upon is a ham radio. Instantly after picking it up, she hears that familiar voice. It's the man from before, and he's just as curious as to who she is. They both want answers, and Nora tells him that she came from a different place. He tells her that this is the city of Hakavik, and it's been abandoned for about 10 years. Nobody has come here in 20. This worries Nora that Walter didn't arrive here from the machine. They agree to finish their conversation when she makes it outside. In the meantime, they chit-chat pretty pleasantly, before Nora's vision goes black once again. She wakes up in the same liminal space as before, the library. The theater is shown again, this time with the play being completely different. It's Walter being shown coming down from above instead of ascending. He sits in a chair with a suit on, and the scene ends. Nora comes back to reality and makes it outside directly after. The city in front of her is covered in live and dead machinery. Walls of steel create barriers through the antiquated city. It's ripened over with nature giving credence to the fact it's been abandoned. This place is a machine war zone with no life here. The man on the ham radio tells her to reach the town hall way above her on the hill. It's the only form of safety around here, and Nora agrees since she has no other real options at the time anyway. They use the radio to have conversations as she makes her way through dangerous androids and puzzles. A long journey begins, but the two of them start to bond, and the man turns out to be quite lonely and actually pretty kind. Many horror-filled dark buildings and hallways block Nora, but she's able to make a path slowly but surely. The man tells her that the machines are Atlas, and the city was evacuated after years of war. Atlas won in the end, and a certain man named Rosendahl was the king of the city. He led the march against Atlas to stop their takeover. The man on the ham radio plays an old tape for Nora to hear to show her who Rosendahl was. The tape plays of the king's voice who gives a speech during the Industria festival. The speech is about keeping the peace and holding their own against the machines. But the man giving the speech, King Rosendahl, Nora knows that voice. It's Walter, she says. The man on the radio confirms that his first name is Walter and is surprised that she knows it. She explains to him that this is the man she's looking for. They're both left in shock at the revelation. She even sees a statue of the king, which confirms the king is indeed Walter. They're both curious for answers. Thankfully, the town hall is his office, so hopefully explanations lie there. The two have more playful conversations during the adventure. Nora tells him that King Rosendahl is her husband, and the man jokes that this would make her the queen of Hakavik, and they share a laugh. Nora finally reaches the town hall above the city, and it's abandoned like everywhere else. Walter's office is huge. He was clearly very important. They find out that Walter has left here. He's actually left the city entirely. There's a map that details his location. It's right outside the walls of the city at a church in the woods. To get there, the man tells her that she must open an aqueduct gate and use one of the city's train cars to venture through it. Another long path begins. The man is worried about her safety, but he digresses. The first step is complete when Nora reaches the train car. The man jokes with her about putting tea on the kettle as she battles for her survival. They laugh gleefully, being the only solace each other have in this empty world. Nora enters the library again as the train progresses to the aqueduct. It views Walter leaving the office chair he was in from before as a large circular machine takes its place. That's all for the omnipotent space this time. The next area the train ride shows is yellow and opaque. The city's border is just as lifeless as before. Huge human-like machines walk around in the river between the city's walls. The two continue gabbing with each other and finally exchange names. The man on the radio's name is Brent. He explains that he lived in this area that Nora's in right now. He says that he was abandoned by the people when he was injured in the hospital when everything went down. Nora feels sorry for him, and he exclaims he'd like to ask her to grab something for him. An old keepsake from his house that's on the way to opening the aqueduct. She agrees, being happy to help in any way possible. There's many dark coves of new robots and androids coming after her. Large stations of resources that used to fuel the city are now left untouched. It's nothing that she can't handle though, albeit how horrifying of an experience it actually is. It doesn't take long for her to reach Brent's house. It's absolutely stunning. It's up on a terrace of a brick building. There's greenery and pots everywhere. It looks truly lived in contrast to such a drab city. This place stands out. A windmill decorates the view beside the house and over the city. Nora makes her way inside the small home on the corner of the rooftop. The atmosphere drops for a moment when Brent asks her to describe what she sees. His tone is somber and almost pleading. Nora explains the room in front of her matter-of-factly at first, but after hearing his tone, she tells of the mundane beauty in front of her. The room that used to house life. She picks up a photo of two people and she tells of the happiness she feels from the two individuals. She says the photo in front of her looks like peace. Brent thanks her for her kindness and asks her if she can bring that photo to the church with her where she's going. His wife's gravestone is also there. She agrees solemnly at the understanding that this man she's been talking to has had a full life ripped away from him, and a beautiful life at that. She leaves the home and continues to open the aqueduct gate on her way back to the train. It doesn't take much effort, and she's able to board her train again, starting the coals back up. Her journey is near an end, as the next destination is the forest outside the city. All the obstacles have now been cleared. The train parts the final station, and she begins to leave the boundary. Brent explains that their connection is going to die soon from the distance. Brent tells her that his life is within Hakavik, as she worries for him. Nora tells him how grateful she is for his guidance, and Brent wishes her only the best and hopes that she will find Walter. They exchange one last melancholy farewell, and the connection cuts. Nora visits the library one last time. It's different now. The images of people are falling from the middle seemingly endlessly. The play this time shows Walter having trouble walking. It looks like a chain or a cord is attached to his waist, inhibiting him. The large machine from before sits beside him. He leaves, and the last scene here ends. Back in reality, the train comes to a halt out in the woods. Open fields with distant machinery are blanketed by a temperate sunset. Nora follows the path by the train station, all the way to the church nearby, overlooking the sea. Before entering, however, she makes sure to fulfill her promise from before. She places Brent's photo on his wife's grave, and the radio in her pocket buzzes just a bit one last time. Now that everything is accomplished, she enters the chapel, praying for closure. It's Walter. He's surrounded by devices and tattered papers, as well as food and drinks. He must have lived here. He's old and decrepit. His body is lying in a bed, not moving. As Nora cries out for him, behind her a voice echoes. It shows the library, and Walter standing there. It's him, but his voice is robotic. He tells her that he let Atlas become the way it did. He even pushed it to become sentient and learn. He wanted the knowledge from Atlas, and he gave Atlas life and freedom in return. Nora worries about what he did to allow that. Walter explains that he orchestrated the events that led to the destruction of Hakavik in the world by giving it to Atlas. He created the beast, and even gave his own physical body to them, so his mind would become one with the organism of machine life that is his creation. He tells her that Atlas destroyed the world, and he gave the world to them. He's now stuck in a subliminal consciousness known as the library, and now so is Nora. This is the price of what they created, the machine lifeform they made. He says the librarians want them to fix what they caused to the world. Nora's terrified and doesn't understand what he's saying. She wants to know where she was for the last 20 years when he was king. But instead of answering any of her questions, Walter apologizes to her one last time for all the trouble he has caused, and leaves her again. The curtain on Industria closes. Industria is a full game that recently released in the last couple of years with a cult fanbase following. It is supposed to be the first in a large trilogy, so the story is purposefully short and open-ended. Nora and Walter are seemingly going to have a larger purpose in the future, and their journey is far from over. Thank you for watching the video all the way through if you did. There are more story and lore videos like this on the channel, and we'll be coming out with more regularly. Feel free to like and subscribe, it helps immensely to get these videos and games out there. Industria is available on Steam if you want to experience it yourself, and see you next time.